For section 1.3, we are going over how to graph absolute values. The first section, these are absolute values, the straight lines. And we'll go over quadratics and vertex form. These will have a pattern. For the first one, I'm going to build a table, and then if you pick up on the pattern, we'll use it for the following so that we can go through it faster. For the first question, I have the absolute value. So I'm going to use my absolute value. And then I have an x minus 1 with a minus 4 on the outside. I'm going to substitute numbers in. To this equation right here to see where my points are within the graph. I'm going to go from -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to plug in a bunch of numbers and see if you figure out the pattern. -4 is at 1. -3. -2. -1. 0. 1. 2. 3. And a 4. Do you notice a pattern within the table? Yeah? I'm going to graph it and see if graphing it helps you see it. 4 is up 1. -3 is at 0. -1. -2. -3. -4. Then it's at -3. -2. -1. It's going to make a V shape. The vertex, that center of the V, is at 1, -4. Does anybody see a shortcut to find 1, -4? Is a shortcut. No? Look at the equation. What does the equation have in it?
-4.
A -4. And how would I get this to be, why would that be a 1?
There's a 1 right there.
There's a 1 right there. Oh. Opposite of a -1 is +1. -4 stays the same. It's like point slope form for a line. So if I want a shortcut, what will be my center when I pull from this equation? What's going to be the center number? The vertex. 2. 2 is on the right. What will be on the left?
+3.
A +3. Opposite of -3 is a +3. Now when I check, I'm just going to go 1 above it. So I'm going to go 1 to the left, and I'm going to go 1 to the right, just to make sure what my V shape will look like. So I have 2 - 3 with a +2 on the outside. Then when I change that 2 to a 4, it's also at 3. Three is up 2. 4 is up 3. I can fill in the V shape without building the rest of the table. Or you can build the whole table. Really, as long as you can graph it, you're fine. When you graph it on your homework, you will click the vertex, click your second point, and it should generate a V shape. So make sure you click on the V-shaped box on your homework when you see the absolute values.
Is there an absolute value button on here? These calculators.
Those ones, don't think so. It might be in the math section. A second. It should be on here. It just might take me a second to find it. Are you okay with me showing you? All right, next question. I look at the absolute value, and then I have a +3 on the end. Three is on the right. Anybody know what the x would be? There's not a number by the x. It won't be a 1. Remember up here, we had a 1 in order to get a 1. Good idea though. 0. There's no number. It's a 0. There's no number in with the x value. I have a 0, comma, +3. Then I'm going to go from 0, 0, 3, my vertex. I'm going to go to the left and see where it's at. And I'm going to go to +1 and see where it's at. And there's also another pattern that you can use if you -1 in the absolute value with the +3 at the end. Is that 4? When I make it a +1, it is also at 4. What happens when there's no number outside on the right? There's no number on the right. That'll make a 0. On the inside, I have a +2. Opposite of +2 is -2. Now, I have to be careful on this one. Does anybody know why I say we have to be careful on this equation when I type it in compared to the other ones? Do you see this sign? I have to make sure I type that in. The ones before it didn't have a sign in front. So I'm going to place a negative absolute value. Number to the left would be -3 with a +2. Close. No number on the outside gives me a -1. If I change the -3 to a -1, just checking the left and the right sides, it also is down 1. why did the first three open up and this fourth one open down?
Because I have a negative in front.
Negative in front went down by 1. The ones over here went up by 1. They had a slope. You can follow the slope on it to graph it if you don't want to build tables. So if you were to take a guess without making a table, it's going to be kind of hard. Where would the vertex be from this equation? Inside is a -3, which means it'll become a +3. Is there anything outside here? There's nothing. You can put a +0 if you really want to. Have a placeholder. Then what is my slope? Down 2. So I would go down 2 and click, and it should autofill the V shape. So you have a choice. Building tables will always work. Building tables is great. If you find patterns, you may also use the patterns. You don't have to build a table every time. Last absolute value. I'm going to find the vertex. Do you want to try it on your own and we'll see if you get it right? Remember, if the pattern does not make sense to you and you're thinking, I have no idea what's going on, you should have your calculator out and you should be substituting in numbers. See if you can find points to graph it. If I take the vertex out, these are the 2 locations I'm looking for the vertex. Opposite of -1 is a +1. And the +2, I leave the sign alone on. Over 1, up 2, click. Then I look at my slope. It says it's a +2, which means I would go up 2 over 1. And then I would fill in the left side to build my V. Yeah.
So how do you get the 2 over 1?
2 over 1. Any whole number is divisible by 1. It won't change it. We just usually don't write a 1 under it because it's extra work. So usually, if I just went up 2 and clicked, it would make a line, and it wouldn't open it up to make the V shape. Good question.
Can you do the pattern on these other ones?
Like write it in?
Like, just look for the vertex and that's it?
Yes.
And the
So
slope?
for this one, the vertex is 1, -4. And then the slope, see how there's no number in front? It would just go up and over by 1.
Oh.
Because it's just a 1, no number.
Okay, I get it.
So this one would be a +3, +2 for my vertex. Then because my slope, there's no number there, it's an up 1 over 1. This would be a 0, 3. When I look for the slope, when there's no number, 1 over 1. -2, no number. Because it's negative, it goes down 1 over 1 rather than up 1. Okay. Vertex. This one went down 2 because of the -2 right here. Vertex. And then because at a +2, it goes up 2. Does anybody think they have a way to remember that the absolute values make a V? Do you want me to show you my little trick? Absolute values make, they're straight lines, right? Look like this when you see them. They have 2 straight lines. When I place those 2 straight lines together, they make a V shape. I don't know why, but in my head, it clicks. Makes sense. I'm like, oh, 2 lines. When I connect it, it will make a V. If you want a little reminder in your head for absolute values. Turn the page. These ones are quadratics in vertex form. Do they look kind of similar, right? I have a number inside the parentheses, and I have a number outside. I'm going to build a table, which you will have to do on your assignment. For these ones, you have to build a table. For the middle, you'll have to put opposite of +2 is -2. The -4 stays the same. -2, down 4. This is the vertex. Now, on your assignment, it will want you to go 2 above and 2 below. So when I look at this value, I would have to plug in a -3 and a -4. And then what are the numbers to the right of it?
1, 0.
-1, and 0. You will actually be given a table that you will have to put the values in on your assignment. So you will have to build this on your own. When I check I have parenthesis x, I'm going to plug in my -4 plus 2 squared with a -4 on the outside. It says that it's at 0. Then I change the x to a -3. I already know -2, but if you want to check it, you can. If I plug a -2 in, it's -4, so that's still correct. -1 is at -3. 0 is at 0. Notice the pattern? You could shortcut and find the top two and know that the bottom two should match. It repeats, 0, -3, -4. If I know it's this formula, it will repeat. So I have a point clicked here. I'm going to put a point and I'm going to click it here. Then I'm going to click here. -1 down 3. 0, 0. I have to place all 5 dots on my assignment. I have to click on all 5 points, and then I have to use the U-shaped button, the parabola. When I use that button, I click my vertex and a second point, and it should autofill your U, the parabola. It will ask you for your vertex, which is at -2 down 4, and an axis of symmetry. Does anybody want to take a guess what axis of symmetry means?
Equal.
Equal on both sides. My axis of symmetry would be cut right down the middle, where x is equal to -2. That's my axis of symmetry. That's it. That's what your homework will ask for. A table, a graph, identify. Let's do the graph on the right. I make my table. And I look for my vertex, my center, opposite of +1 is -1, and it's at -3. That is where I'm pulling my vertex from. I'm not doing any math. I'm just reading the equation and finding my vertex for vertex 4. I then have to fill in from this point, -1 down 3. From this point, I now have to go to the left and plug in a -2 and a -3. Then I go to the right and plug in a 0 and a 1. I'm just looking to the left 2 and to the right 2. I'm going to substitute it in for the x. I have a negative 2, parenthesis, replace x with my first number, plus a 1 in there, square it, minus 3. Negative 11. When I replace the x with a negative 2, I get negative 5. What do you think a 0 will be if you took a guess before I plug it in? Let's check. Plug a 0 in. 0 is at negative 5. What do you think 1 will be at? I'm going to check. Positive 1 is at negative 11. They are going to match when you move off of the vertex. This is the center. Those two will match, and the top will match. I'm going to plot these points. Negative 3 is down 11. Negative 2 is down 5. 0 is down 5. They match. And this one is down 11. They also match to make your parabola. You will have to click all 5 points on your assignment. Then click on the vertex and one of the second points, and it will autofill the U shape for you. For the vertex, negative 1, negative 3. Axis of symmetry is right down the middle. That middle line hits the X line at negative 1. How are we doing? Okay. Right. Bottom left. I'm going to build my table. I start with my vertex. I find my vertex by looking here and there. Opposite of positive 4 is negative 4. The positive 3 stays the same. That is the center of my graph. -4 of 3. I need two numbers to the left, -5, -6. And two numbers to the right, -3, -2. And I'm going to plug them in to see where they will be when I graph the rest of my shape. Negative, parenthesis, I'm going to plug in my -6 for x, +4, close, square it, then put a +3 at the end, is -1. Then I change the -6 to a -5. What do you think -3 will be at? Let's check. -3 is at 2. Good. And where will -2 be at? -1. The more we do it, the easier it gets. I'm going to plot those points. -6 is down 1. I would click a dot there. -5 is up 2. I would click a dot. I already clicked there. -3 is up 2. -2 is down 1. I would then select the U shape for the parabola. Click, click, 2 points. And it will autofill your U. My vertex is at -4 up 3. And my axis of symmetry is this line that cuts down the middle and hits -4. X, f of x. Can somebody help me write down what the vertex will be? What will my center point be?
4 -1.
4, -1. +4, -1. Good. That's my vertex. This helps me build. Anybody know what I do next to build the rest of the points? Yeah, what do?
You would go to over, you would do like mark 2 from the left and then 2 from
Ah, okay. What would those numbers be?
3 and 2 and 5 and 6.
Perfect. Good job. So I just go, I'm going to plug U in and U in, and I'm going to plug 5 and 6 in.
Can it be the other way around too? 6 and 5, or 5 and 6, and then 3 and 2?
You can try it. When I was doing the assignment, it was a little bit picky. So if it marks your center correct and the top 4 and the bottom 4 wrong, just flip them spots. And I can check it if that happens to you in your table. But for the most part, it looked like they wanted it from smallest to greatest. I'm going to plug a 2 in. So I have a 2 parenthesis, plug a 2 in, minus 4, close, square it, and then I place a minus 1 at the end. 7. Then I delete the 2 and I place a 3. That 1. I can place a 4 just to check. Correct. Place a 5. And place a 6. If I wanted to, I could just copy it to the bottom and not even type it in. 4. See, 2 is up 7. I put a dot. 3 is up 1. Then I mirror it. So I should place all 5 dots on my graph. I click the vertex, then my second point, and it auto-generates the U shape. Vertex, we found at 4 down 1. Who knows the axis of symmetry?
Wouldn't it be 4?
Let's check. Draw my line down the middle. It does hit the 4. Good job. Are these feeling a little bit better after doing a few of them? Okay, good. Now, do you remember how with the absolute values from the front, when they have the straight lines, they make a V shape? When you have the parentheses being squared, when you place them together, they make a U shape. But it has to be squared. U squared will make the U. Last ones are ACT questions. They are kind of hard to see. I'm given this graph. Put your phones away. You take the ACT next year. All right, it tells you that the graph of y equals x squared minus 1 is given. Right here. Then it says, for which of the following equations is the graph of the parabola if it's shifted 2 units to the right and 2 units up? 2 units to the right, 2 up. It would be right here. Where is the vertex for that new spot? Where is this located on my grid? The grid would be, yep, 2 then, 2's right, 2 comma, from this 0 line, how far up is it? 1. Down here, the equations, I'll rewrite them. Does anybody know which one of these questions it is? First one? Why would you say it's the first one? Why would F be my answer in the multiple choice question?
Because instead of a -1, it's a +1. And there's 2. Let's see if we can calculate.
When I pull the vertex, the 2 would be a +2, and this would be a +1. If I tried to take this vertex out, the 2 would be correct, but the 1 would be wrong. It wouldn't be a -1 there. The second question is similar. I've given figure 1. This is figure 2. They've moved it. And it says that it's at, can't write that small, -4, 1. And my equations say those are my choices. Which one would match my vertex? Yeah. Bottom one, let's check. +4, opposite signs, and then matching signs. Bottom one was labeled letter K. Good job. So on the ACT, it's multiple choice. It helps you eliminate. Should help. Okay. Do you want to do the real world application, or do you want to skip it? You want to skip it and start graphing? All right.